Yo, welcome back. Big weekend here in the grappling world, and another episode of the Grappling Bulletin podcast to break down a little bit of the action. lots and lots of action to break down. Of course, who's number one was last weekend. Myself, Howell Teague, and Chase Smith. We were doing the commentary. That was lots of fun. Corey Stockton's in the back joining us at the kids' table. He's going to be providing some stats and the like. But man, what a pretty wild weekend, right, Chase?
Man, it was so much fun, right? We had 5 subs out of the 9 matches, and we had high expectations for so many of the different storylines there, convalescing around the event. And
5 out of 9 subs. That's really good.
And that's not the only event at Who's Number One that's been like that. We've had a lot of great shows, but I feel like this one really upped the ante. I mean, the co-main and the main event were just fantastic, right?
Yeah.
Short, but amazing.
We'll get into those in just a second. But actually, I remember reading that our average submission rate at Who's Number One is around about 45% every event. So that's around about just under half of all our matches end by submission. But in this case, it was actually more than half, 5 out of 9. So, Corey, you're going to be diving in and kind of getting together some WNO stats in general soon, right?
Yeah, and I like to see that the trend is moving upward, right? 5 out of 9 means that I think the athletes are getting the message that that's what we're looking for, and that's what's going to keep bringing them back on.
So, I think that we should just dive in and we should discuss the biggest stories out of the weekend. And that, of course, is that we had 2 of the quickest ever submissions in Who's Number One history, back-to-back matches in the co-main and the main event on Friday night. So, Mikey Musumeci, he comes out and he's like, desperate to be accepted by the no-gi community. Right?
I love this post-event interview. It's awesome.
Yeah, he's joking about it, about how he's like, this is hang on a second, like, who knows this for sure? Is it the first heel hook that Mikey's ever hit, or is it the first heel hook he ever hit as a black belt? Might be the first ever, right?
He told me afterwards that this was his first ever heel hooking competition.
Wow.
I was going to say in competition, yeah, because he hasn't really done much no-gi since 2016 when he won no-gi worlds, which of course wasn't an option then.
Never did ADCC.
He didn't do anything at like ACB, right? It was all gi matches?
Only gi. I was wondering if maybe he did some like random Naga or Grappler's Quest when he was like a kid or something.
I guess, yeah, maybe as a kid he could have done it because that shit's wide open. So, let them fight, as they say.
Well, yeah, he came out and he looked great. Let's play the clip because we've got a nice little highlight here of Mikey going out there and, of course, going up against the number one 135-pounder, Lucas Pinheiro. So Pinheiro, of course, we know he is super tough, right? And there was a big question mark over exactly, what Mikey's strategy would be going into this match. Well, I mean, he just wasted no time. Straight in on the legs.
Yeah, this transition was incredible. I think Gordon gave a great analysis as well, saying how Mikey used, sort of what we call the K-guard to go into what is known as the backside 50-50, which is very much similar to a matrix-style back take, which is a gi technique, which is something that Mikey's very good at in the gi. So, so it's a very smooth transition into no-gi leg locks, right, into the heel hook game. And Mikey wasted no time. But the way he did this was so clean. There was no fumbling. There's nothing. I mean, not that I expect anything less from Mikey. But even there, which is a little bit hard to see from this angle, Mikey had a pretty interesting grip sequence exchange where he had actually grabbed the foot with both hands at one point before sticking into the final position. So Mikey really looked like a seasoned pro out there, in my opinion. Which he is, but in the no-gi element.
Yeah. But we've talked about this, about how, if you're very experienced in the leg fighting game, then it doesn't take a lot to learn the heel hooks. Because a guy like Mikey, of course, he's been known for many years now as a berimbolo guy, right? And you have to think that if you've got that really dialed in leg game, then just figuring out the right positions, the right entries, and the right finishing mechanics for those twisting leg locks, it's not going to be too hard. And that's exactly what he showed. So he came out there and used something which didn't look too dissimilar to his core jiu-jitsu game, of course, inverting underneath, tying up the legs, but just finishing in a very different form to what we've seen before. Now, Corey, I always say this, but you're kind of our resident leg lock guy, right? I want to know, what did you make of Mikey's heel hook?
I specifically like the entry because the K-guard entry into the backside 50-50 is, like Chase said, so similar to a matrix back take that it meshes perfectly with the game that Mikey's built for the last 5-6 years. So this entry and then into the heel hook, Mikey said in his post-match interview that he felt that he made a mistake in the first try, which is why Lucas got out of it. But the second try, it was almost a side-on knee bar, right? His hips were driving into the side of Lucas's knee, and the torque was there right away.
I can't believe that Mikey only needed 1 minute and 26 seconds to take out the #1 ranked guy in the world. Now, Michael Sears, our evil genius matchmaker at Who's Number One.
I love that tagline, by the way. It's standard now.
I mean, but are you arguing?
No.
There you go.
I said I love it.
Yeah, I loved it. Yeah, there's no argument there. But Mike is going to be revising the rankings after this, and I don't know. I mean, I just don't see how Mikey can't now be the #1 guy in the world after that.
I think that would be a harder argument to make as well. And I think really Lucas expected a very different game from Mikey, right? Because Lucas has fought guys that are great leg lockers before.
Sure.
And he played a very different game, a much more cagey, outside range-based game. What comes to mind is his match with Junior Ocasio, as well as some matches with the Meows, where there's a more obvious threat of like toe holds and stuff like that. And he went right into Mikey's guard. So I think he was expecting more of maybe a Nogi Berimbolo action, hunting for the back from Mikey. And got caught off a little bit off guard there.
I mean, that's not the first leg attack that was in that match either, right? That Lucas was able to shut down the first, but Mikey got him with the second. And actually, if you go and if you check out on both our YouTube channel and on the site, we have a really good post-event analysis by Gordon Ryan, where he talks a little about what Lucas could have done differently, and about how he could have done a better job of defending, and about how he actually sort of the way that he lay back actually kind of gave Mikey more of an opportunity to finish the submission. Really insightful stuff, and it's kind of cool actually to have Gordon in the commentary box for those two matches, right?
Yeah, I was just going to jump in there. I absolutely agree. Having someone of his technical level break it down in real time is fascinating, and it was really insightful. So I think we may see Gordon back at some time in the future doing something similar, especially while he's kind of off the competition circuit. So
hopefully
we can hope. It's not a guarantee, but we'll see what can happen.
Hopefully, though, he gets a little bit more of a chance to speak. That's true. Mikey's match was only 1 minute and 26 seconds. And then Craig Jones was like, oh, no worry, boys. Hang on a second. I'm going to do this even faster. So let's play this clip because it's so short. Craig came out and submitted Luis Panza in 48 seconds. Exact same move, not the same entry, exact same move though, an inside heel hook, and you can see it right here that Craig's hunting after the legs, gets that heel, and then boom, Panza just had literally nowhere to go. Couldn't even properly defend the technique. Like Craig just had him dead to rights, right?
Yeah, I love this entry. Craig is so versatile, and even though you know what he's looking for the finish, the way he gets there is just such a variety. And I think actually he goes over some of the belly down details on this finish that he gets. It's not fully belly down, but he's turning that way in the Fix My Game episode, and he explains why that's a stronger braking area than just maybe on your side. So
nice plug, by the way.
I had to throw it in there because I recognize him. Like, hey, he showed me kind of what's going on there. So
yeah, no, it's actually, you're right. If you go and watch that episode of Fix My Game, then you'll see some of those details.
It's true. So if you want to finish guys like Craig Jones, pop that on for a bit.
Cool. So it's amazing actually that Craig is undefeated on Who's Number One, right? He's had 3 matches, 3 submission wins, all by inside heel hook, and yet he keeps getting quicker. So his first ever Who's Number One performance, his first number 1 match was against Roberto Jimenez. And, I'm sorry, no, he doesn't keep getting quicker. It kind of went, I'm going out of order here. I'm very sorry. No. But this is by far the fastest. He had a match against Ronaldo Jr. in February. He finished Ronaldo in 4 minutes and 15 seconds. He tapped out Roberto in October of just last year. That was only 2 minutes and 24 seconds. This time, 48 seconds with the inside heel hook. So that means that Craig, in 3 matches, he spent a grand total of 7 minutes and 27 seconds.
And those are 15-minute matches too, or would be.
Yeah, he's not hanging around, right, Corey?
Exactly, yeah. He spent less than half a match worth of time in 3 matches. That's crazy impressive.
It is. I don't know. Has he got somewhere to be? Like, is he just like, he's like, I gotta get out of here. I'm just like, I don't like it. No, he's just getting out there and he's getting it done. And that's great because that's what we want on Who's Number One, right? We want guys who are going for the kill.
Yeah. I mean, Craig embodies that, and there's not a real easy answer. Obviously, we've had 3 very, very skilled opponents take him on in different ways, right? Everyone tried a little bit different approach, and all met the same end. So, Craig seems to be the man to beat right now.
It's a tricky one, this, because those aren't the quickest submissions we've ever seen on Who's Number One. The fastest submission that we ever saw on Who's Number One was, of course, when Nicky Ryan took out Tony Ramos in only 21 seconds with a heel hooker last year. But, and here's the conversation topic for today. Does it count? Should we really consider that the fastest submission in Who's Number One history? Of course, the match happened. There's no denying that. But Tony Ramos had never had a no-gi grappling match until that point, and he's never had one since. And Nicky Ryan, of course, an established grappler. He was still a brown belt at the time, I think. Got his black belt shortly after. But, of course, a two-time ADCC veteran at this point and one of the main members of the Danaher Death Squad. Nicky just went in there and took him out, and it just wasn't even competitive, you know? But the question is, does it count? Should Nicky hold the honor for the fastest Who's Number One submission, or should we give it to somebody like Craig for doing it against an IBJJF world no-gi champion like Luis Panza?
No, I think Craig's number 2, as always. I mean, I know that's a tired joke maybe at this point, but it's hilarious how it keeps coming up, right? And
forever number 2.
Forever number 2. But I do think there is an obvious distinction between the two subs and someone that's a black belt legit competitor versus a wrestler coming in. But I mean, the match happened. It was on the card. I got to say, Nicky earned the sub. I don't really see, we can always talk about what's more legitimate. That's for us to talk about. But as far as a list, a record, well, I think that's an obvious choice there of what happened.
Fair point. Can't argue with facts. Corey, your opinion?
Yeah, you can't take the factual record away from Nicky Ryan, right? He did hit the submission. He did hit it in 27 seconds. That match happened. Although I think it does certainly deserve a little bit of an asterisk. That will never really be the fastest submission in Who's Number One. It's certainly not the fastest submission against a black belt opponent, right? So, yeah, as it stands, fastest submission, sure, but everybody's looking at who's number 2 in this event.
Poor old Craig, forever number 2, forever number 2. Well, I mean, he's going to be back very soon against Tairo Tolo. That is really not that far away. Man, can you believe that's actually just over 3 weeks away? June 18th, that Craig is going to be headlining Who's Number One against Tairo Tolo of Atos. Of course, that match was meant to happen last month, but unfortunately, Craig had to withdraw. But it's great. It's a match we've been looking forward to for a long time. But I don't know about you guys. I don't see that match going faster than 48 seconds. And I certainly don't see that match going faster than 21 seconds. So I think Nicky Ryan's record may stand for a little while at least. We'll see. You never know.
Yeah, all I know is I cannot wait for that match with Ty. The stakes are so high now, right? With Ty coming off of that win, Who's Number One against William Tackett, looking so impressive there.
Didn't he?
I mean, incredible match, right? This just kind of ran through William in a way, and then Craig having his most recent win. I'm even more excited than I was before.
I mean, yeah, I gotta say, this is one of those matches where it could happen anywhere, anytime. But really, this particular sort of series of events, as you said, that Ty was meant to face Craig, and Craig had to pull out, so he faced William Tackett instead, and just man, amazing, just flawless performance, really was. Ruotolo just looked so good, answered a lot of questions about how he would do moving up in the weight classes against bigger, more experienced opponents, and it just makes it all the more exciting for when he goes up against Craig Jones on June 18th. But that's not the only event that we have happening on the only match we have happening on June 18th, right? Because, well, we've just started rolling out the matches for our next Who's Number One event. And Chase, why don't you do the honors? What have we got? What's coming up? What can we look forward to?
If you guys didn't see the news, very excited about this. Keenan Cornelius is coming back to Who's Number One. And it's been a long time. We didn't see him in competition since February of 2020, before the shutdown, before everything happened last year. That was the last time we saw Keenan. And it's been even longer since he was in a Nogi match. The last time I believe we saw him do that was Nogi Pans 2019.
Amazing. Of course, Keenan was scheduled to compete at ADCC, if you remember. He did the training camp for ADCC in New York with the Danaher Death Squad. He was training at the Henzo Gracie's academy. And he competed at Nogi Pans just a couple of weeks before ADCC. and he got the toxic eye rot. Remember, he got the super pink eye that everybody was suffering with, and of course, Craig Jones was able to compete, but Keenan was in a bad way, so he had to pull out of ADCC. So it's insane, isn't it? It's crazy to think that it's been over 18 months since Keenan has done a no-gi match, and yet we've lined him up against somebody who potentially, come after him.
I think we actually have a little clip we can be playing here as we talk about this matchup. But I can't wait to see Keenan back in no-gi. Corey, what do you make about this?
Yeah, I like this return for two reasons. One, because Haisam Rida specifically asked for him the last time that Haisam beat Keenan's student, Sloan Climber, and right afterwards said something to the line of, "I beat the student, now I want the master." Right, so. Keenan has stepped up, and I think no better time. Given that Gordon Ryan is out for the foreseeable future, I think Keenan could really shake that heavyweight division up. So Keenan is not getting an easy match back, though. I mean, Haisam, we've been talking about Haisam a lot this year, actually, right? He's been very active over the last 6 months or so since he moved to America, and he's looked pretty good, right? He's hit the medal. He's hit the podium at IBJJF no-gi tournaments a number of times this year. He's had some good performances. He's had some not so great performances, but he's very much still a work in progress. But who's #1 veteran? So this is it's not an easy match for Keenan to come back to.
No, absolutely not. And I think it's actually very interesting stylistically because they both have a very technical game, and I think in some past matches, Haisam has been a bit stifled by an extremely physically aggressive opponent. He's managed to come off with the win, but in his post-event interviews, especially the last one, Who's #1 when he faced Sloan Climber, you can see he was a little disappointed with the way it went down, that he felt he wasn't able to show his technique, and he wasn't. I mean, everyone that's seen him compete in other matches knew that there's more there. And Keenan likes, I think, to exchange technique. It's an exchange of information for him. He's sort of decoding what's happening in real time.
He certainly doesn't just stall out in position.
No, and he's not going to force anything. Keenan, is definitely a master of technical sort of trickery, let's call it. I mean, he wants to surprise his opponent after learning what their game is, and so I think we'll see a lot more from Rida, and then I'm very excited to see how Keenan comes up with a solution to whatever Rida throws at him.
Yeah, I love it. I really do. It's crazy to think that we haven't seen Keenan compete in so long. It's been over a year since his last match, but that's good. It's great. We'll see a completely different Keenan. I'm sure he's been working hard on a ton of stuff, in the gym that we just haven't seen yet. And you know how innovative he is, and he's always developing new things, and like you say, they're kind of unveiling new tricks every time he competes. So who knows what to expect from Keenan? Let's not forget, Keenan's no-gi pedigree is very, very good.
It's almost better than his gi pedigree, you could argue.
Yeah, he's been more successful in terms of pure results. I mean, he is a 2-time ADCC silver medalist.
Bronze and silver, I believe.
Yes.
But two-time
ADCC silver medalist and an ADCC bronze medalist.
Okay.
Yeah, because he took silver in 2015 and 2017.
That's right. I'm leaving out 15.
He hit the podium in 2013, taking bronze as well. I mean, Keenan is really, really good. And how many times? I can't even remember how many times he won World No-Gi.
I want to say 2 times.
I think you're right. Yeah. So there you have it. Keenan's no-gi game is legit. The lack of the lapels shouldn't be too much of an issue, but of course Haisam is a very dangerous opponent, and I cannot wait for that one.
Corey, we haven't heard you jump in here yet. What do you think about this matchup?
I think I mentioned before, but one thing that specifically jumps out to me is that Haisam has really good judo in no-gi, and specifically geared towards no-gi. Wouldn't be surprised to see if Keenan pulls guard right away, but if not, if he stands up, Keenan hasn't been shy about the fact that he's been working on his judo for the last couple of years, so that'd be an interesting component to this for sure. Actually,
that's a really good point, that Keenan, in terms of his no-gi grappling game on the feet, he doesn't like to wrestle too much because of various neck issues. So he actually has a similar kind of stand-up game to Haisam, in terms of that he loves the overhooks and the kind of the Uchimata style stuff. It just works for lanky guys like that, right? So, but hey, not the only match we've got on June 18th. We're in the process of announcing our matches for that event this week, and we're doing up to 2, maybe even 3 announcements every day this week as the card is rolling out. Of course, the main event is Craig Jones versus Tairo Otolo, Mikey Musamichi versus Juni Ocasio in a a very interesting 135-pound match. Man, Mikey is foot on the gas, huh?
I love it. I love to see it. And he made such a statement, like we said earlier in the show, at this last appearance. So I think Junie is very excited. He's already excited. But now watching that, he goes, now Mikey wants to do a leg lock shootout. Let's do it. Let's see it. Because, that's Junie's A game, right? Getting to the legs. I would love to see them trade techniques there.
Yeah, I 100% agree. We've also got another confirmed match. Andrew Wiltsey is going to be returning, of course, star of the Daisy Fresh series, and he's going to be taking on Gabriel Almeida of Checkmat in a 185-pound match. So, of course, both guys returning pretty soon. Wiltsey was in action not too long ago on our last but one in our April Who's Number One event. And, of course, Almeida was in action just last week against Nicky Ryan. A very tough 15 minutes, but he did not roll over because Nicky Ryan was coming at him, right? Nicky Ryan had made a point of saying that he wanted to kind of excise the demons from his previous matches where he felt that he hadn't been able to really show off his jiu-jitsu. And he thought that, Gabriel would be a good opponent to try and do that with. And man, Gabriel hung in there for the full 15 minutes. And not many people can say that.
Yeah, Gabriel's very crafty. I really thought his defense was on point. And actually, I'm going to make a point later this week to rewatch that match for
how he got out of the body triangle?
Yeah, twice. And with what you might call minimal effort. Was he gassed? Yeah, but I mean, he made it out of Nicky Ryan's back control twice. So not many people could do that. So I think this actually is a much better matchup for Gabriel, Andrew Wiltsey. And I'm very excited to see, kind of what they do when they clash. Because Andrew's so physical. He's got one speed, one gear. And Gabriel, I think, is a great counter fighter. And I want to see if Andrew maybe overcommits, if Gabriel can make him do that. So it's fun.
Yeah, great question. Great question. I'm definitely interested to see how that match goes. So yeah, we've those are 4 confirmed matches so far, and I believe we're gonna have 5 more no-gi grappling matches. I think it's 9 in total, right?
Yeah, but I want to say there's 9 matches unless something else comes up.
Ooh. What could that mean? Man, the Art of Jiu-Jitsu team are just looking absolutely incredible. Better and better, one might say. And of course, they have many representatives in both gi and no-gi tournaments. But we should really give some props to Jessa Khan and Cole Abate for absolutely clinical submission finishes last weekend. And these are, let's just remind everybody, teenagers. Cole Abate, only 16 years of age. Jessa Khan, 19 years of age. And yet, the maturity and the precision they display on the mats, just phenomenal. Mature beyond their years, I would say. Would you agree?
The proof is in the submission, I would say. I mean, Jessa Khan really had a statement to make in this matchup. She knew coming in that she wanted to avenge this loss she had in 2017 when she was still a blue belt, and wanted to show that, yes, she deserves to be ranked above her today. Let's put a stamp on that. Let's emphatically.
Let's play the clip, actually, because, Jessa was ranked number 3 in this division, the 115-pound women's no-gi division, and Patty was ranked number 4, because Jessa's been a little bit more active. But explain what happened. They go back, right? They have history.
Yeah, so in 2017 at EBI, they fought, and I believe Patty Fontes submitted Jessa. Jessa was still a blue belt, and Patty was already a black belt no-gi world champion at that time. So it wasn't a surprising finish there. At the same time, though, it definitely gave, I think, Jessa a little extra motivation, saying, all right, now I've caught up. Let's show you what I can really do. And you can see here from this finish, the transition to the armbar is incredible, and then there was no escape from Patty at this point going forward.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I love the finish. You see the way that Jessa puts her foot inside the bicep there and kind of breaks the grip a little bit. And it's Patty's really strong, apparently. Like physically, I've heard her opponents and her people in the division say that pound for pound, she's one of the physically the stronger competitors in that division. She's got extremely wiry kind of strength, which is, as you know, really useful for grappling. But I think Jessa did a great job of she was very aggressive in passing the guard. She blasted past it, and then you see in this armbar position, she's there for a while. But look at the use of the foot there inside the bicep. bicep to separate the grips and then get the hyperextension of the arm. That's a really nice and a detail that can't be overlooked. Corey, what did you think about this?
Yeah, Jessa absolutely made a statement, but it was specifically the precision of that step over into the armbar that impressed me, because she was kind of biding her time a little bit at the beginning, but once she saw the opportunity to pass, she passed directly into a submission. That's something we always expect from AOJ, and it was great to see where she ended up when she decided to pass the guard.
Jessa Khan, of course, is one of the youngest female black belts in the United States. She was promoted to black belt at the age of 18, shortly before her 19th birthday. And just incredible to think that she can be so talented and so successful at such a young age. And just makes you wonder, like, what is possible in the future, right? Because she has such a long way ahead. But she's not the only one, because Cole Abate scored his second submission in no-gi matches here on Who's Number One. He's a three-time Who's Number One veteran, because he competed on our first ever Who's Number One event way back in February 2020 in a gi match. But I don't know about you. I don't really count those in the Who's Number One records anymore.
I know. I made a couple mistakes when I was doing the pre-event interviews. I said, "Oh, Mica, it's your debut," and Mica was on that same show too.
Yeah,
it has changed. I mean, now it's the format we have today, which is miles away from February last year.
You know the way I look at it? It's like we've rebooted the Who's Number One universe.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like
we reached our final form basically in October last year. I want to say. I feel like that's when we really hit it. But
the gi stuff, I don't think it should count to official records, because gi and no gi is so different. But Cole has competed for us a number of times, and this is his second no-gi match this year with us, and his second submission win. Of course, his first was against Ned Johnson of 10th Planet, and he had a really dominant showing in that match. And now coming back to taking on another older opponent, because of course Cole is only 16 years of age, and technically he is a blue belt, but it's no-gi, man. And people always say this, that belts don't matter in no-gi. You watch that kid. You watched Cole Abate in that match from last Friday, and he did not look like a blue belt.
Respectfully, Cole Abate scares the shit out of me, to be honest. I mean, he's physically gotten much more mature. Just at 16, he's so much stronger than he was a couple years ago. And you combine that with his already incredible technique. I mean, he is so sharp. There is not an opening of,
roll the clip.
Yes, roll the clip.
See the sequence of moves.
Because you give him just a centimeter and he will take it all the way. And this back take was so sick, and he turns into an arm lock attack.
I thought he lost the back take there for a second, right? He rolled and Wiltsey kind of postured up for a second. I thought, oh man, he's just rolled off it completely. And then he kind of rolled back into what looked like, I can't see the grip here. I think he was kind of working on an arm, and it may be like a Kimura grip from the back, and just the way that he was able to take what really an unorthodox position and not a great position, and then come into this crucifix, and then kind of turn it into it was just like non-stop attacks, right?
Yeah, Corey, weigh in on this one. What do you think of Cole's performance here?
One thing that specifically stood out to me, even when I was watching the match live, I made note of it, was the perfect blend of patience and improvisation. Like he was patient riding the back and kind of waiting and looking for an opportunity and not finding one, and then spinning off onto something else. And that's how we ended up from the back take to the Kimura trap to the crucifix, back to the Kimura trap. I mean, it's just one thing after another, always keeping Bird on his back foot, but always staying patient and composed and in control. So it was impressive to see that from anybody, but especially a 16-year-old kid.
Yeah, you can see here that it kind of goes from that crucifix and then comes back over the top and then switches to this armbar and then whoop straight into a triangle, as Wiltsey thought that he could posture up out of the armbar attack, and then from the armbar to the triangle to finish with a triangle armbar. Man, it was just an onslaught of techniques, right?
Yeah, it was really something else. And I'm trying to remember, when did Cole switch over to AOJ? Was that 2 years ago?
Oh, it was last year.
It was just last year, yeah. And man, he's made leaps and bounds, right, since he went over there.
Yeah, you're right. Could have been end of 2019, actually.
I'm trying to remember. It was right around when time stopped making sense. But he, like I said, his progression just in the last, let's call it, year has just blown me away.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what's next for Cole. I mean, it's a tricky one because, you got a 16-year-old blue belt, and we've had people saying, oh, he should face Mica Galvao, he should face Andrew Tackett, and it's like, guys, he's not even in the same weight class as those athletes. Cole is a 155 athlete,
Today, though.
Galvao today. He will get bigger.
Yeah.
Galvao is walking around about 185. He cut to just over 170 for his match with Andrew Tackett. Andrew Tackett is a 170-pound athlete. Just not forget that Cole is a 155-pound grappler for now. And yes, those matches could happen later on. But if we're going to be playing matchmaker, then you need to consider that. Who else is in his division? But still, that gives some opportunities, right?
Just got confirmation, guys. Cole Abate joined AOJ August 2019.
There it is.
August 2019. Wow, it is almost 2 years.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's a fair old time now. I mean, the results he's had since then, just incredible, because he was always good, right? He was like the local legend on the Texas scene.
I mean, he already had a pretty wide footprint at that age. I feel like anybody in the know knew this kid was going to be great, but timing was great. It was a smart choice to move to AOJ at that time.
It's jet fuel for your career, right?
Yeah, and you can see, as we saw, it's happening.
I love it. I love to see it. I got to say, Jessa and Cole had amazing performances, and we love having the AOJ team on Who's Number One. Shall we talk about performance of the week?
Let's get into it. Who won it this time, Hal?
Well, I don't think it's any surprise for our viewers because he just had one of the best performances that anybody has ever had on Who's Number One. Of course, the only thing that escaped him was a submission finish, but he was working for that right until the dying seconds of the match, and that is, of course, Mica Galvao. Mica Galvao, the 17-year-old sensation, the brown belt from Brazil, now representing fight sports. Man, can you believe that this kid came out here and he went up against the incredibly tough Andrew Tackett, and he put it on him.
Yeah, this match had high expectations coming into the event, and they just smashed through them. It was so fun. We can go ahead and roll this clip here, I think, and watch some of the best bits.
Yeah, we've got an extended highlight of this match. It's probably a good 4 minutes long, so let's just talk about it as it goes.
And Mica, of course, as we mentioned, a lot in the run-up to Who's Number One, has so much hype behind him. He is being looked to as the next big thing out of Brazil. He gets more press down there than some black belt world champions, and for good reason. He wins everything, and he's super fun to watch. And that came through in this match of Andrew. Now, they made it a pretty fair fight, right? It was very close. It went to decision. Not very close. Mica definitely won, but he didn't win by sub, right? Which is kind of what many people may have expected. And I love the versatility in his game. You saw a lot of his creativity, good wrestling, as well as guard work, as we saw a little bit later in the match. So it was fun all around. Corey, what did you make about this fight here?
Yeah, Chase, you mentioned his creativity, but his sense of it seems like he doesn't really operate except for based on instinct. Everything he does seems to be a perfectly timed counter reaction. He actually reminds me of kind of a jiu-jitsu version of Anderson Silva, right? It's constantly waiting for counterattacks and specifically setting everything up off of his opponent's mistakes. And it's impressive to watch because his technique is so smooth, so precise. And as we mentioned, he's only 17 years old.
Yeah, that moment was crazy right there, this back take attempt.
I watched it again and again, and I still couldn't really figure out how he did it.
Yeah, he just stuck to him like glue and managed to turn into basically a pass into side control and right into mount. Such smooth transitions and
big pressure.
It kind of reminded me a little bit of Mikey Musumeci's first match at Who's Number One, where you could tell he kind of wanted to do something particular and didn't necessarily make a point of finishing it from anywhere. I feel like he had a specific goal in mind, and that's maybe what this match went as long as it did.
Yeah, very possibly. I mean, I got to say, Andrew Tackett did not roll over for him, and that's not his style, right? Andrew is he only has one speed, is go forward, is go hard, and he hung in there in some really, really tough spots because, of course, Mica, he scored a couple takedowns. He had the back, he got to mount, and Andrew just never stopped fighting. But I feel that the weight was maybe an issue in this match because Andrew doesn't cut weight, and Andrew fights up a lot. So he actually weighed in at 168 fully clothed. He came into this match, it was a 172.5 catch weight. And he came in, and Andrew was 168, and Mica cut about 11 or 12 pounds to get down and weighed in on the day. Weighed in the day before at about 171. So when it came to those crucial moments, like when they're really locked up together, at times like this, and times like when Mica was on top in the mount, man,
I thought that arm was going to break for a second. I remember watching that. I was like, oh, man, that looks bad, but he slipped out.
Andrew is slippery, but those 12, 13, 14 pounds, man, that does make a big difference, right?
Especially, I was watching Mica warm up before the match, and just from a distance, I was watching him drill some passing, and you could feel the pressure just watching it. Like he's definitely, he knows how to apply his weight in a way that's just crushing. So 12 pounds on top of that is
considerable,
right?
Man, right until the dying seconds. Look at this though. The last 10 seconds, and Mica's not chilling out, not stalling, not looking at the clock. He's still hunting for the arm, and Andrew did manage to rip his arm out there. He wasn't just saved by the bell. He did actually manage to slide out. But I love this as well. This moment of respect here from both of them. They're all smiles. Andrew, of course, was very unhappy with the not the result, but with himself, his performance, and Mica just all class. But the respect and the display of sportsmanship and mutual respect through the match was something I really like to see, especially from such young athletes.
Absolutely, you love to see it, like you said, and tensions at earlier points in the year were a little high between the Brazil and USA thing going on, and it's great to see that these kids weren't really caught up in that, and there's all about the respect and the competition, and growing jiu-jitsu, which is really what Who's Number One is about as well. So
it really is. Looking here, actually, there's a good comment from our YouTube live chat. Mica's technique was great, but he also looked like he had a major size and strength advantage. And I have to agree that, I definitely think that the physicality was something that was a factor. And the fact that this kid is only 17, you have to think that he's still developing so quickly, right? And I kind of wonder, where he's going to end up, because I don't see him being able to cut to 170 very often if he's 17, and if he's cutting 12, 13 pounds to get there, he'll probably end up at a much higher weight class. But at the same time, he's not tall,
185 would be tough for him.
Right? I think 185 is probably going to be his weight class eventually. Yeah. But I think maybe he'll be between 185 and 170 for now. But he's about 5'9", something like that, maybe 5'8". He's not particularly tall. His father's not particularly tall, so I don't think he's going to be like Gordon Ryan's size. But he'll definitely fill out, and who knows how thick he will get. But I think 170 is not going to be in his future for much longer.
Yeah, that's fair. But he's still a kid, right? 17, so you never really know exactly what's going to happen next couple of years.
Know. What's Oh, actually, no. I'm not gonna say. I almost spoiled something then. I almost spoiled it. I was gonna say what.
Tell
next.
Me after.
I was gonna say what next for Mica Galvao, but I think all I'm gonna say is this: you'll find out soon. I love it. The power, the knowledge, the secrets.
I don't know if you guys were paying attention at home. I happened to watch the show, but I gave away the Who's Number One championship announcement 2 matches early because it was Jessa Khan's match. I'm like, yeah, you made a comment, Hal, about how exciting 115 pounders were. I'm like, absolutely, that's why we're including them this September. Nobody knows what I'm talking about.
We haven't
talked about that yet, so I don't know if anyone caught that, but that was bad.
Yeah, man, the September is going to be wild. Actually, we've got the Who's Number One championships coming up actually, right, in September 25th, 26th, and it's big. It's going to be really big. We got 5 weight divisions. We got 3 for the men, and we got 2 for the women. And there were some questions though about why we chose those weight classes. Well, of course, those aren't the only weight classes that we have at Who's Number One. Those are just the weight classes that we decided to showcase at this event. So we will be working through the divisions at future events because we want to crown champions in these ones. So 155, 185, and heavyweight for September for the men, and 115 and heavyweight for the women. But it's not like ADCC where it's just 2 weight classes. It's 115 and under, 115 and over. No. There's been a lot of confusion, I think, that we have multiple weight classes for the women. It's just at this event, we will be running an 8-person bracket, an 8-woman bracket for 115, and then a heavyweight 8-person bracket as well. So I hope that
the real goal of the event is just to do something different, right? And
yeah,
if anything, the 115 weight class really gets kind of ignored or combined into a heavyweight class like 125. So, let's give them some shine. Let's see what they can do.
So the format of that event will be basically that we have 2-day tournament, and we'll start off with the opening rounds on the Saturday. We'll have a morning session, opening round, and then the Saturday night we'll have the second round and the up to the semifinals, I believe, right? So we have the finals on Sunday, and at the same time we'll have a true third place as well. So we'll have a consolation bracket, so people will basically, if they don't make it out of their original matches, that they get put into a second bracket where they fight through. And that will also take place on sort of like a Saturday afternoon and Sunday morning. So it'll be a morning session and an evening session on Saturday, and then on Sunday as well. So it's going to be really cool, right? It's going to be
a big weekend.
A lot of matches, man. We're going to be busy. We have to get some replacement commentators in.
Of course, let's not forget the cash.
Baby. The cash.
$30,000 for the winners. I forget exactly how much the second and third place get.
$30,000 for the winner, $15,000 for second place, and $7,500 for the third place. It's going to be big. It's a total of $250,000 in prize money for this event.
Plus some bonuses may be announced shortly. So
yeah,
we've got big plans.
Well, because we unveiled last week, right? We had the fat tire submission bonus. So our sponsors stepping up, and they ended up paying out quite a lot of money last week. We had 5 submission bonuses, so everybody got a nice little $500 in their pocket after each match. So who knows? Maybe some of our supporters will be stepping up and trying to offer something similar in September. That'll be a lot of fun. But that's not the only events that we have coming up on the horizon, right? We've got events this weekend, next weekend, the weekend after that. And as far as we can see, it is non-stop jiu-jitsu events. Just, wow, FloGrappling is loaded right now. You've got live events on every weekend. Fight to Win 172 is coming up this weekend, June 4th. It is here in Dallas. And it's got no-gi matches as the main attraction. Yuri Samois versus Devontae Johnson. Jaime Canuto versus Oliver Taza. Felipe Trovo versus Arnaldo Maidana. So Fight to Win 172 goes down June 4th, this Friday in Dallas, Texas, with some highly ranked grapplers. ADCC champion Yuri Samois, a 2-time ADCC champion. You've got world no-gi medalists Jaime Canuto, Arnaldo Maidana. So it's some good talent on that one.
Yeah, Fight to Win. I'm glad to see them back in the mix. And that main event is pretty awesome with Yuri and Devontae. Devontae had a great 2020. I don't think he's been quite as active this year, but had some big wins in the last 12 months, let's call it.
He did pick up gold at America. Excuse me.
That's right.
What was that tournament?
No-gi pants.
Thank you. Yes,
okay,
no-gi pants.
There we go. No-gi pants, gold medalist there versus Yuri Samois, one of the best ever. So that's awesome.
Very cool. Fight to Win 173 on June 11th. Changes rhythm a little bit. Switches gears, I should say. Fight to Win 173 features gi matches. Marcos Tinoco versus Iago de Souza. Pedro Diaz versus Joao Miao. And Lucas Pinheiro versus Paulo Miao. So both the Miao brothers in action on the same event. It's been a while since we've seen them compete together on the same event in super fights, right? Of course, they both competed at No-Gi Pans the other week, but Paulo was in the adult division and Joao went masters.
So strange to see that.
Still can't get your head around it, right?
I'm getting old, I guess, but yeah, it's awesome, kind of.
But yeah, they'll be putting the gi back on, and Tinoco versus Iago de Souza is a really interesting match for me as well. Again, that's in Dallas. That's June 11th. Fight to Win 173. And then on the horizon, well, we've got EUG, the 170-pound tournament. EUG, of course, is Evolve Your Game, and that is an 8-man black belt with a little caveat, black belt stroke brown belt gi tournament. And the last one was a lot of fun, right? That was where we saw Andy Murasaki make his black belt debut in amazing fashion, some high-level names. And we got some good names invited back for this one. Slightly different cast of characters, of course. We've got Tynan Dalpra, got Jonatas Gracie, Matias Luna, Michael Liera Jr., some solid names. And, of course, Mica Galvao has been announced. He's in the mix as well.
Yeah, I'm really hoping Tynan and Mica meet at some point. That's a match that everyone's been talking about for a couple years.
Everybody wants to see that.
And, Mica's still brown belt, right? Even though his talent exceeds that of your average brown belt or even your very good brown belt, him and Tynan, I think, will be a barn burner. Let's see if that one gets done.
And then just looking ahead somewhat, June 24th through 26th is IBJJF American Nationals, both gi and no gi at that one, Corey, or is it just in the gi?
American Nationals gi and no gi.
Oh, so, there we have it. So yeah, twice as much fun. That goes down in Las Vegas. You gonna head out to that one?
I'll be out there along with Michael Sears once again, scouting some talent for what else we got going on.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, these events are actually, it's a good showcase, right? Because I just think back to Pan No Gi recently that, we were, of course, so excited because we saw Josh Cisneros in action, in a fight to win earlier this year. He had that amazing match with Kennedy Maciel. Of course, lost that one, but still, it was a match of the year contender, and we were so excited to see him in action. And, and then he ended up getting upset by Diego Pato, who, of course, scored 4 submissions in 4 matches and 1 gold. And we're like, wow! Who knew? So these tournaments are an amazing opportunity for us as well as the fans to kind of like just see what's happening in the no-gi scene. It's always something to get excited about, right?
I love a good tournament, right? Our bracket's so fun, and you always see some unexpected developments. So absolutely looking forward to that.
Very unpredictable. That's the thing with tournaments, right? Super fights, you kind of there's a lot more or a lot less variables. It's a little easier to predict. But tournaments, you just got a list of names, and you're like, I don't know, man. Could be 5 of them. Could be 6 of them. Who knows, right? We'll figure it out. And then the last one we should just mention is June 26th, BJJ Stars. That goes down. That is a super fight show coming from Brazil. That's looking really, really cool. I'm excited for this one. They haven't announced all of the matches yet. They're in the process of doing so. But, man, there's some really, really cool matches, both gi and no gi on that show, of course. This will be the culmination of the ongoing reality TV series that they've been putting up on their YouTube channel. So there's a number of matches that basically feature, they're the finals of that because they had like a sort of an in-house competition all leading through into kind of a big finale, and this is it. So I do know that we can announce that Ingrid Alves and Isadora Cristina will be fighting in the women's final, and Lucas Gualberto and Nathan Chung will be in the men's final. But then they've made it a full super fight show. There's like matches top to bottom on this one, right?
I think they've announced that the main event in the gi is Patrick Gowdy versus Felipe Pena. That's on their Instagram.
Ooh.
And so that's an awesome matchup. Can't wait to see that. And it's a busy circuit coming in Brazil on the Flow network, and you'll hear more about that coming soon. But BJJ Stars will be kind of kicking that off. So
yeah, we do have some really big matches or some big events, I should say. But yeah, look at some of the matches that they've announced for this. Muhammad Ali will be going up against Yuri Samois in a no-gi match as well.
Love that.
On that BJJ Stars on the 26th of June. And yeah, there's some veterans in there as well. Patrick Gaudio versus Felipe Pena in the gi. Bianca Basilio in the no-gi ADCC champion, of course. She's going up against Gabby Fechter of Checkmats. And lots more. You got the return of Michael Lange, Anna Rodriguez. Very, very exciting, man. I can't wait. This is going to be a great event, and it's great to see the scene is alive again in Brazil. Because of course, so many of these athletes who are in Brazil are unable to travel outside of the country for now. So it's great to see them being able to do their thing down there, and then when things open back up, man, sets up some really cool matches in the future, huh?
It's gonna be open season.
All right. Well, I think that's about it for today's episode of Grappling Bulletin. Unless there's anything else that we should leave the fans with.
No, man, strap in. It's going to be a busy 8 weeks and then probably another busy 8 weeks. But it's going to be a really wild one the next few weekends in a row.
Yeah, stay tuned. Like we said, the next Who's Number One is, of course, on June 18th. And then, of course, we have the ADCC Super Fight Show, the Road to ADCC, on July 17th. We'll be announcing matches for that event very soon as well. So lots of news coming. We'll be keeping you guys updated every step of the way. But until next time, take it easy.